So hello, everyone. Let me introduce you Christian Kyriacou, who is the House Whisperer, as his last book is titled. I'm going to do this interview on behalf of the Feng Shui Society, and I'd like to let Christian talk about his journey and what his input has been with Feng Shui and different ways of healing a house, of connecting a house to its residents, and bringing the heart to the house, making everyone feel connected.
Lovely.
Welcome, Christian. So please tell us, how did you start your journey? I know that you came to this country from Cyprus, and you studied architecture. Is that the beginning, or?
I think the beginning was just becoming aware of energies, and particularly very uncomfortable energies in houses when I was very young. So, but I didn't understand what they were. It was just fear. But there was a knowing in my body of something that felt uncomfortable about energy, which I would now call dark energies. So, and it would be a long time before I began to understand what was going on. But I think my journey really started when I was about 8 years old, learning to play the piano and music. And so music became a very big part of life. So that went on for quite a few years. I worked with my father on building sites because he was a builder carpenter. So I was learning a lot of the building trades and absorbing a lot of energies of old buildings that he was converting. And he wanted me to become an architect so that I could work with him in his business. And I started measuring buildings and drawing and designing. And he only built Indian restaurants. So I became the Indian restaurant guru architect. And up to the time I finished designing Indian restaurants, I think I must have designed about 333 Indian restaurants in the UK. So that was quite a journey.
That's huge.
And so that was in the late 60s. So that was before I started official architecture training. So I started my architecture training in 1971. And by that time, I was running virtually a full-time architectural practice. So I was well into buildings. And I just remember reflecting back that when I was measuring buildings, because in those days you measure them with a tape, a pencil, and paper, not computerized everything now. And of course, every wall I was measuring, I was connecting to its energy and its consciousness. And I would go back and draw it on tracing paper before computer drawing. I understood that I was absorbing the stories of the building and everybody who lived there and all their emotions. So in a sense, I was well into buildings, energy, people, psychology, way before I'd even heard of Feng Shui in the early 90s.
So do you mean when you say you were connecting to the lives of the people, you already knew the story of the residents without them telling you about?
Well, most of the buildings would be empty because they were empty and they would be converted to a restaurant. Okay. And yeah, I was absorbing, feeling the emotions without anybody there, just coming off the walls, which now, of course, makes total sense because all memory is held in water. Water contains crystals. Crystals contain memory, which is why computers work.
Exactly.
And so, so looking back now, that's what was going on, but I didn't have that sort of language at the time. So when, also about the same time began to study architecture, I joined the philosophy school in London, where I started learning architecture, sacred music, and so on. So I was really thrown into the esoteric world big time. So this was 1971. So, a long time ago. So that was quite a journey in parallel to studying architecture, getting married, having kids, working full time, studying full time. It was crazy, working into the late nights to do projects. I don't have that sort of energy now, but you do when you're at that age. But it was great.
Do you think when people commissioned your work, they were also asking for a spiritual advice, or was it purely architectural, or
No,
was
not
it
then.
just you
No,
having those
no,
feelings about?
definitely not then.
Okay.
I would say what I realized when I started Feng Shui was what people were asking when I would go to a large house and there was a couple and they wanted an extension. Quite normal. So I did a lot of extensions. And it wasn't until much, much later, until, I got into Feng Shui, that I realized actually what they're asking for is not an extension, but what they really needed was a divorce. But they didn't know how to express that, out. And as we know in Feng Shui, if we extend in the relationship area, it's usually because one of the couple want out of the relationship. And it's the same with any part of the bagua. If we extend it, we're strengthening it, exaggerating it.
Yes.
And then when I look back, all the house extensions that I did, as well as Indian restaurants, it all made sense that people were wanting something, maybe spiritual or just normal life stuff. They didn't know how to express it, but they were expressing it in terms of extensions, renovations, colors in their home. So I just thought that was just fascinating, in that situation. So psychology was always a big part of my interest and awareness. And in fact, some years ago, I took a postgrad degree in psychotherapy, which was fascinating. And that launched me into studying Freud and Jung, which of course I heard about, but never really studied them. And that was a fascinating journey in itself, especially Jung, because he studied the ancient Vedic scriptures and philosophies and all the masters. So I totally and utterly resonated with his work. And then looking at Freud's work, which is quite interesting for people to perhaps check in on, a lot of his patients, if you go into detail of what he considered was their problems and all the sort of crazy stuff and women sort of being called hysterical, and his solution was to give them a hysterectomy, where the word hysterectomy comes from, because women were hysterical. So his solution was to take out the womb, which is absolute total nonsense. But when I look at the detail of his case studies, those people had attachments. And attachments are a big part of people's issues. People are not just living their own original soul. They have other souls that have hijacked and are living their lives. So one of the first things I do working with people is to establish, who am I talking to? Is it original soul, or do you have one or two personalities attached to you? That's quite a big consideration.
It must be a bit challenging too, because I'm sure you cannot always, you feel more than you can say, unless the client is open to discuss this with you.
Um, well, I do discuss all this with every client because unless I do, we're not going to get a solution. And there's no point pussyfooting around. If there are two souls in one person, I'm very tactful. Obviously, I'm not going to suddenly say, "Hey, look, you've got some dark stranger, piggybacking on your life." There's a way of putting it, and but it's really important to acknowledge that, deal with it, and see who it is. But importantly, to see why a client has attracted that energy, because we are never victims. That's something really important for people to realize in this work, Feng Shui, energy work. We are not victims. We are never in the wrong house. We've been drawn there through law of attraction, and we have a relationship, and that is like big banner. It's all about relationship, our relationship to something. And it's understanding why we've chosen to play out a particular story, a particular journey. And my work, and virtually, that's kind of the aim of every consultation I do, is to get the person to see and realize what that story is, what that program is. I might see it instantly. I usually do, because that's just my nature and perception. Which is a great gift. I'm very grateful for that. And I see psychically, I hear, I feel, I can see what people are wearing. I can see spirit wandering around, what they're wearing, what time period they're in. So it's a fantastic gift, really grateful for that. But there's no point me telling you that, a client that. My work is to get them to see it, realize it, feel it, until they get to what I call the aha moment. And when they get to their aha moment, it's like, okay, now we can begin the work. Before that, it was like, fishing around. And
So how do you get them to that point of connecting with their soul, themselves, and their environment, the house?
Talking, just very simple talking. And because if one is aware of space and akasha in Sanskrit, just space, ether, and you listen to somebody, they actually begin to hear themselves, and they begin to hear a deeper level of their own story and their own words. So it's crucial that I listen. It's crucial that we all listen. But as a consultant, if you really listen to the sound and the emotion from someone, they're going to hear it as well.
Yes.
And if I hear that there may be another soul, for example, and I recognize that, it's in the same space as the client, and there's a good chance that they're going to actually see and feel that as well. So we really are talking really deep psychology, philosophy in a sense, even before we start using the word feng shui.
Yes.
This is a person understanding who they are, why they are, how they've arrived at this point with their stories, with all their life issues, everything that, isn't going right in life, which is why, they come to us. But and that's crucial. The feng shui is a system of analysis and a system to cure, to fix, to help. But unless we get the story, we can't even start talking about feng shui. That would be ridiculous.
So in your experience, what can you tell us in terms of what has worked when using feng shui on a practical, commonsensical basis?
Once we get to the essence of what a story is, a very typical example, and relationships, of course, is a big one. That's probably the number one biggest feng shui issue, if you like. And if somebody comes and says, well, one of the issues is I'm not in a relationship, I really like to be in a relationship. And we explore all that and explore what does a relationship mean to you? Is it safe? Is it challenging? And so on and so on. And you get to the core story of, I don't trust, men in obviously if we're talking, it's usually a woman I work with, very, very rarely a man comes along, maybe 1 in 100, but very rare. So, and so we've identified the issue, and you look around the house, and particularly the bedroom and in the relationship area, the top right from the door, as we know from the Tibetan Bagua, as opposed to the classical Feng Shui Bagua, which of course we'd look in the southeast of the room. But I find the Tibetan Bagua, top right of the bedroom, from the bedroom door, absolutely every single time there is something symbolically there that says I'm single, like a picture of a single woman.
Top right. So you come into the room and top right.
Top right of the Bagua, yeah.
Yes.
That's a relationship corner of the Tibetan black hat Bagua. Which, as we know, is different from the southeast in the compass. And you will always find that has been reflected outwardly in some kind of symbolism of single woman. And then you look around the whole bedroom, single woman. You look around the whole house, images of single, single, single. Classic every time. So that's one aspect. The other is, in the relationship area, we've got pictures of the children, pictures of grandma, parents, Buddhas, Jesus Christ, just everything. And it's like, hang on. And I say, is this what you want to be in intimate relationship with? And then suddenly it's like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. Suddenly when that dawns, and it's a classic. But you see, when I see that, I then sort of try and get people to see, well, I'm putting all these people there, mother, father, grandparents, and it's actually because I don't want to get close to a person. I don't want to get intimate. So let's put all these images there to stop me actually meeting someone. And that's what happens. So there is never anything right or wrong in whatever is in a place. It's about understanding what is the message, the attitude, the intention, what is it you want? And guess what? You've externalized it perfectly. Whether you want to be single image, or you want to have a complete block. I've often been to places where the couple in their bedroom have had all these pictures. It doesn't matter which part of the bedroom it is, whether it's relationship. Symbolically, the whole bedroom is about intimate relationships as well as rest. And they've got all these pictures. And I just said to one couple, do you really want to be intimate with your husband with all these ancestors and your children and your parents watching? And it was like a realization, a bit of an embarrassment, but that's exactly what she wanted, because she didn't want to have intimate relationship with her husband. So perfect way to block it. So I would not say to that couple, move those or change them to something, more to do with relationship, symbols of two and all this as a cure, because that's what they want. So it's never about, let's get rid of something and change it to, oh, you've got to be in a relationship, symbols of two, which people say this a lot, but no, if somebody doesn't want to be in one, you leave it as it is. But as long as they know that, but also tell them, but if you ever do decide you want to shift that, You need to move all those people out of the bedroom, put them somewhere else, honor and respect your ancestors and parents and so on, but not in your bedroom. But those people who have suddenly realized, oh yeah, I'm single, but I want to be with someone, and they change it to symbolism of two. And I have a whole sort of file of images and say, look, this kind of thing, or do your own research, find an image of a couple, preferably not, real anyone famous, certainly not sort of Hollywood actors, because that's all disaster energy. But find an image of two people or something symbolic that when you look at it, you feel the energy and emotion of, yes, that's how I want to be with that person.
Yes.
When they do that, that comes into their life, sometimes within days, if not weeks.
Would you
Because
agree that it could be symbols of nature, like flowers or animals loving, or
if it's to do with a person, I would say a picture of a person. You can put flowers because the flowers give the energy, but it's to do with the emotion of being with a person. But you have to have done the inner work and dealing with the psychological issue of a man is dangerous or a woman is dangerous, or it could be a disaster if I get into a relationship. I mean, I could write an entire book on that, a whole list of reasons why people don't want to be in a relationship, because it's scary, it's hard work. It must be the hardest, part of the bugger, as I'm sure that many people realize.
But
Yeah.
Feng Shui is definitely, or the other skills also that you've learned have helped bring awareness to the clients, because as you say, by questioning, asking the right questions, they understand by themselves what needs to be done.
Yes, absolutely. And that's crucial. There's no point me going in and saying, this is what you've got to do. Yeah, I might see it straight away. I usually hear it on the phone if somebody, I always talk to people before. So I tell them how I work. You want to work with me in this way. If not, then it's not going to work. So let's not waste time. So and I can get the answer very quickly to what's going on. That's just, the years of experience doing this, and, hundreds, and I think getting on nearly 2,000 consultations now over 28 years.
Amazing.
I mean,
what about when what about when they call you about blockages, let's say financial blockages? What do you usually have? Is it what do you look at when these
exactly the same process, Alexandra. Okay. It's like, let's look at what your belief and attitude is to money.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me, what does money mean to you? Oh, it's dirty, it's evil, it's dangerous. I think, really? I don't believe that. I think money's great. It's an energy flow. So tell me, whose belief is that? Oh, my father always used to say it's really bad. So you get to the root of, and they hear the father's voice every time money comes up. Father, evil, bad. That's a belief. It's a program. So, and people don't realize that until you actually ask them. And then there is a process I do, which I call a quantum timeline, sort of reprogramming of taking the person back to the essence of that program, and without going into too much detail, reprogramming it, zeroing it out with them. I don't do it for them, but I facilitate it, and then bring all that back through the energy of the heart, which is the golden mean harmonic in geometry, and you bring that back into the present moment, so that you've changed the belief structure of what they believe money was. And so you can actually use money for good things in life, for yourself, for others. It's an energy flow. But if you believe it's bad and it's evil, that's where it's going to stay. And really, it's the same story for all the 9 areas of life. Health. If I'm healthy, that means I've got to get on and do what I'm here for in this lifetime. So I better stay sick. Yeah, these sort of things.
Some
So
people
it's
find confidence.
Sorry.
I'm saying some people find not confidence, but they find themselves in that world of isolation in a way, and that's
Yeah.
I see it. Yes.
It's getting people to realize what they believe. That's what it's about. And then we're using the house and the Feng Shui systems and the Bagua for helping to illuminate the external of what's internal, because what's outside in our home is purely that mirror image of what's inside. And so, yes, you can look around a house and you can look in the relationship area, the financial area of whatever system, because it's just an inner outer projection. And I use both systems to get people to understand, both that Tibetan from the front door or the front door of a particular room, and also the classical Chinese compass system, because they both work. They're both very powerful. And it's not one's better than the other and all this nonsense. And get people to see, well, look over there, that's your wealth area and it's totally trashed. So what's your attitude towards money? And we're back to that same question. So when they look in their house, they're externalizing and realizing, oh yes, that's my attitude to it. That's what it looks like in the physical world. So do you want to change it? And this is a crucial point here as well, clearing that area of the Bagua is not going to fix their financial situation. Yeah. So this whole concept of space clearing is more about space aligning, realizing what your story and belief is, and you have to deal with that. You cannot change your financial situation by clearing your physical financial area without dealing with the inner psychological issue that's created it. It doesn't work that way around. Everything starts from a higher vibration, manifests to the lower physical. So in other words, what's in the mind is our beliefs, our attitudes, our programs. That's what we need to deal with. And then if we're doing it in conjunction, which is obviously what I do with the client, then we're looking at that area that's trashed in the house and say, okay, now are you ready to now clear it, change it, put something more appropriate there that is to do with wealth. And again, like we said, with the relationship and the picture, you find something for the wealth area, which when you look at it, you feel abundant and rich and blessed, which is what that area is about. And then once you've done a bit of the inner work, a bit of the outer work, then they both work together. But you can't just clear the physical and hope the inner attitude or what my father believed was evil about money. It's going to take a lot longer for that to work.
Yes, so it has to come from the inside, obviously.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's the same with selling a house. It's something I've specialized in over the years. Oh, my house has been on the market for 2 years, 1 year, can't sell it. I get involved, do my process, which I can talk about. The fastest I've had is the same, no, within 1 hour. Within 1 hour is the fastest I've had. A house in Chelsea.
Do you want to share some of the
Yeah. That's actually a very good one. Often the same evening, the day after. If it goes more than a few weeks, more than 1 month, then either I've missed something or the client hasn't done what they need to do. But what I found in that particular house was she had this house rented out. It was to a certain group of people that trashed it, abused the house. And all the house said to me was, I don't want to be rented out. My soul, spirit is being hurt, it's been trashed.
Yeah.
So I kind of got the client to sort of feel that. And we walked around the house and found the heart of the home, which is not always in the kitchen. Yeah, it's nice to hang around the kitchen, but the heart of the home is not always there. In fact, in truth, the heart of the home is the entire home. But, we like to localize it, and it's quite useful sometimes when you're working. But ultimately, if you've really space cleared and aligned yourself and your home, the heart is all of it.
All right.
But that, we can come back to that. So I got her to sort of walk around the house with me until we found what I call the sweet spot. Like when you're playing a gong, there's a particular part of the instrument that really resonates. And it's not the middle of the gong, it's not the edge. It's actually the golden mean position, which is again the heart harmonic. We're going into sacred geometry. So this sweet spot was the heart of the home in 3-dimensional. And as we know, the Bhagwat is not flat 9 areas. It's actually more of a Rubik's cube, 3 by 3 by 3.
Right.
It's
Yes.
actually 3-dimensional, the true Bhagwat. And so I got her to connect to the heart of the home and got her to promise she would not rent it to anybody that would hurt it.
All right.
And we could
Yes.
really feel the response of the soul of the house. Within 1 hour, 2 people from the same agency called up separately and said, we've got 2 people that really want your house and they want to come round this afternoon. That was it.
Totally.
That is the quickest. Time and space is a total and utter illusion. So it doesn't take, a year, 2 years for something to activate. It's instant in the true spiritual world. In the quantum world of physics, dynamics.
Some people would argue it's also a question of market. If the
things
market
are the
is
issues and the cure. It's fast. It's fast. So
yeah.
And it's fascinating when that happens. It's I'm even fascinated, and I still call it magic because it is.
Yes. Yes. So you're defying sometimes can you hear me? When the market is not at its highest, you can still, by making peace with the home and understanding, and from what you're saying, respect it, because at the end of the day, it's about respecting where you are.
Totally, absolutely. Because if you don't respect your home, you're not respecting something in you.
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to. Your home is you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You are your home. And again, it's that relationship, understanding that, honoring that, and working with it. And if you really listen to your home, it'll tell you everything you need to know to do. Even with interior design, when I was doing more of that, people say, oh, well, what color shall I paint it? I've had this interior designer and they've got all these crazy colors. I just said, look, fall still, be in the room, look at the walls and ask the house what it wants. And suddenly you start seeing those walls change color in your mind. That's the color. There is no system.
Okay.
To me, 5 elements, whatever. There's so many systems of colors and design. The house will tell you. And every house is different. You cannot have the same interior design colors. It's a different house in a different street, in a different village, in a different country, different planet.
And the person might be in a different phase in their life. We change taste every few years.
Absolutely, the astrology, and of course all the astrological and the Mingguas and the 9-star key and all the periods of it, we're in. Everything is changeable. So the only thing that doesn't change is the soul of the house and what it wants. And what it wants is something that is going to nourish you. If that is your your aim in life. If you want to destroy yourself totally, well, you wouldn't really be talking to a consultant. But, assuming that you want to do something good in your life, and you've got the house sort of space cleared, aligned with your soul and life journey, then that house and the wall will tell you exactly what color it wants, what changes it wants, extensions, furniture, everything. So in a sense, that inner feng shui can actually start working. So
Yes.
that's really the training, if you like, to help people connect with their own inner feng shui, and then they can be at one. If you can be at one with your home, it will tell you, it will whisper to you everything it needs for your nourishment.
Totally. Yes. I believe in that. It's very catchy and it's very true, the whisper of the house. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking about the whisper of the house, I know you wrote a book about it, and I know that you're finishing writing another book.
Yes, A House Whisperer. Yes, exactly 10 years ago it was published. My current book, which is in its final formatting now and will go to first print next month, it's called The Vesican, Whispers of the Ancients, and it's about a journey from another planet many millions of years ago to Earth, bringing the light codes of creation, which are all the laws of the universe, from a planet that was dying from warfare, and the bringing to Earth for regeneration of those light codes with light codes that existed on Earth way before. So it's quite an interesting story. And on the journey, the light codes are lost through warfare, and they have to be gathered. So it's a bit of a quest for knowledge in a sense. And it's done through meeting all the wisdom keepers of Earth, like Plato and Mozart and Leonardo, and various other people, all who have been touched by higher knowledge.
Yes.
And this is what all the work is about. Where is the knowledge of all that we work with, all that we frozen? Might need to pause there for a minute. Leonardo used to go to particular caves in Italy where he would be downloaded with very high intelligent information from higher sources. So that's not commonly known, but when you think about all the inventions he came up with, the flying saucers, the flying machines, the submarines, and so on and so on. Where did all that come from? Yeah, I mean, this is
You must have done a lot of research.
Absolutely. But the thing was, and I say this in the book, that in his time, he didn't have the technology to actually build those things.
Yes.
But he designed them. So it's fascinating. So the whole journey is the two characters, taking a journey through the earth, meeting these people, and all the conversations, practical, philosophical, human, emotion, story, until they get to the final chapter, which you have to wait and see.
Can't wait to read your new book. And is Vesta the name of the planet or the people?
Yes, you'll have to wait and see when it's published. Yeah, but the extraordinary thing for me was the entire story came just after I visited Egypt in 1992, and about a year later in 93, several music tracks were downloaded to me. So as a musician, I put them together on the piano and keyboards. And my brother helped me put them together because he's a musician composer. And we created a CD of about 7 or 8 of these tracks. And one of them, which is one of the current names, is Ancient Lights, which kind of refers to ancient friends from this planet that was dying. And that CD sat in a drawer for 25 years. And then suddenly it woke up about 5 years ago and wanted to get out into the world. So I got my nephew and niece, who are composers and singers, and they helped me create the current album, which you can listen to for free on my music page, entire 22 tracks. And that's the story of the book. And so 5 years ago, I was trying to put together various video clips, with the intention of going towards like a 12-part, movie series. And my partner said, you've got to write the book, because in a book you can get so much detail. And the book is quite, it's about 144,000 words. It's quite a lengthy story. But so that's where the writing of the book came. But it came from the music. And that music was written, as I say, nearly 30 years ago now. So the music, when you listen to the music, if you really hear it and absorb it, it will tell you the entire story of the book.
And we can download or listen to that music on your website? Yeah,
if you go on my website into the music page, go to Whispers of the Ancients, and in fact, there is a 9-minute video, which is like a promo video that virtually tells the whole story of what it's about. Okay. And you can listen to it free on YouTube or Spotify or any of those. Listen to the entire 22 tracks. And they're all tuned to 432 hertz, which is quite an important frequency, if people know what that means. So
I know you're a man of many interests and
sure.
passions, because I know that in a few weeks you will talk also at the Feng Shui Society Summit, and I believe the theme is about doors.
Yes, etheric gateways, I call it, which is one of my 18 modules in my 1-year training academy, which I start a new intake in October if anybody's interested. Okay. But again, all the information is on my website, or people can email me. Etheric gateways is something I became very aware of many, many years ago. And everywhere we go, like an entrance either to a town, a city, a road, or even our front door. But just take our front door, because everyone, recognizes that. That front door is symbolic. It's saying, you stay out until you press the button, ring the bell, and I'll let you in.
Yes.
And you're invited in. And so if we now go away from that to the entrance of a city, and, if you take London, for example, you've got lots of gates around the city, and we still have that, Ludgate and this gate and that gate, but there's no gate there now. Yeah, physically it's gone, but energetically, etherically, it's still there. Yeah. Yes. And you can actually walk through these places and you can actually feel a buzz. And if you get some dowsing rods and walk through completely empty-minded, you'll find that as you walk through the gate, they will cross, because there is a compression of energy, and that compression of energy is holding a set of codes with the message of, for example, you can't come into the city unless you have permission.
Right.
Yes. And that is still vibrating in the air, and that will vibrate till the end of time, until someone comes along and zeroes it, takes it to 0 point, and then you've got totally and utterly 100% space clear of that program. It's all about programs. And again, I teach a lot in my 1-year academy about psychic programming, psychic protection, but it's about understanding what these programs are, which are around us all the time. They're being transmitted through our TV screens, through our computer screens, 24/7. Programs are constantly being pumped out, telling people what to do, what to believe.
Totally. Yeah.
And unless you're awake enough and your vibration is high enough, you're going to be manipulated by that, as happens, much of the
Yes.
time. Do this, do that, take this, take that. And if you wake up and see what's going on, but there are ways of actually understanding and listening to these programs. But recently, I'm hearing various politicians' names where they want to pump in the elections, and I can hear them and I can hear what they're saying, because they're literally transmitting that out as vote this, vote that, without saying any names. But it's a particular, and I'm just very sensitive to that, and I hear that. And if I feel there's something wrong with a program, I'll absorb it and invert it to love.
But for yourself.
Yeah. Ultimately, all resolution with this work, space clearing, dowsing, getting rid of, it is never about getting rid of. It's about understanding our relationship, and transmuting it through the heart, through love. It's the only way to resolve. It's never about space clear, let's get rid of. We've got a spirit or a ghost, let's get rid of it. Because that spirit, that ghost, is an aspect of you. And it's a great gift to connect with it, because even what we might call the dark stuff, the evil stuff, it's showing you your unresolved shadow stuff. So if we can learn to acknowledge what that is, we can learn from it. Whereas most people want to get rid of it. Ghost busting, of course, is like the worst aspect of, let's shatter the soul of whatever it is that's there. But anything I come across, I will always get the client, or even stuff I come across myself that I don't like. It's like, okay, what's it showing me? What have I still unresolved in my past? This life, past life, whatever. But if you can get a client to see that, they're not a victim, what they're being faced with, the darkest stuff ever that's plaguing their life. If you can get to understand the root of it, the story again, you can deal with it. And it doesn't take much to shift that. It's the recognition is the first thing, and then maybe some Ho'oponopono, forgiveness chanting. You're forgiving yourself basically when you're doing that. Not forgiving someone else, otherwise you've judged them, executed them, now you're forgiving them. No, you're forgiving yourself in that process.
It's always about that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And that shift of love through the heart, is enough to shift mountains, and this is where the real work is. And so placing something symbolic in different feng shui areas can help, externalize that. It's like, okay, well, a woman particularly, I hate my father because he abused me when I was a child. Okay, why? What was your part to play in that? Get a picture of your father, put it in the, the number 3 area, the ancestors area, parents area, and try some forgiveness processes. We're not victims, and this is the important thing. And so externalizing that, but just putting a picture and saying, okay, put a picture of your father there, and put a rose quartz crystal and hope for the best. That's not going to cut it. You've got to deal with your attitude and your belief, and forgive your father for what might have happened, and so on and so on. I come across a lot of people with a lot of abuse stuff. It's extraordinary.
It's coming up more and more, it seems like.
It is, isn't it? You're finding that with people.
Yes.
Unless people are just more open to sharing it. But I tell you, we've got a whole book on the stuff that people tell me. It's like, whoa, some unbelievable stuff. It's incredible work to be doing. And,
Also, Christian, when you talk about the bagua, do you use it as the simple bagua? You place it on, where the house is, or do you use the compass orientation to create the bagua?
sure, I use both.
Okay.
I would look at that person's home, and kind of establish, is this home resonating to the Tibetan black hat bagua or the compass? And it's
Right.
not difficult to find. So if you've got an issue with relationships, for example, I look in relationships and in the black hat, and if there's nothing going on, I look at relationships in the southeast, and there's something going on. Then I know that house is operating more from compass,
Right.
black hat. That's kind of like an approach that I teach and work with. But I would say I start looking at the psychology and the symbolism of what's going on before I look at the bagua. Because if you've got, like we said about single woman and images of single woman, they will be all over the house, not just in the bedroom, for example,
Yes.
and not just in the relationship area. So I look at symbolism and the different functions of rooms. So, and you then kind of build up a picture. And then again, what I find important is if one is clear in one's own being and you're there in service for the client and the home and the land, of course, and all the spirits and the elementals, the crucial thing is to be in the present moment and to ask for guidance, ask for help, because we're not working alone, that's for sure. We've got our guides, spirits, and angels, and you will be given the answer you need. And it may be totally nothing to do with Feng Shui, nothing to do with this or that. You'll just be given something that is so appropriate to the client. And that can come because all knowledge is in Akasha, it's in space. And the only way to access it is to be in service and in the present moment and to listen. And in a sense, that's kind of the biggest teaching for the whole year I do in my academy, all these, incredible sort of aspects of, programming and psychic defense and Feng Shui and sacred geometry. But you can put all that aside. All that is about training you to be present. So the more you can be present in the present moment now, listen, you'll be given what you need, and you don't need to ever study anymore. But the work is in actually being still and listening.
That in itself is a lot of wisdom and self-knowledge.
Yeah.
On this note, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful interview, and we shall see you in September. Thank you very much, Christian, for all this insightful information, and I look forward to reading your book.
Thank you, Alexandra, and for the opportunity to share that with whoever.
Okay, we'll speak soon.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Take care. Lots of love.